Goodbye sleepless nights because of unbearable itching that never seems to end and completely steals your restorative sleep. You're there, lying in your bed trying to find a comfortable position, constantly tossing and turning because the irritation simply doesn't stop for even a single second. That intense and penetrating burning sensation that seems to make you completely crazy and desperate, not allowing you even one moment of peace, rest, or relief from the torturous symptoms. Throughout the entire day, you desperately try to keep up appearances and continue your routine normally, bravely pretending that everything is fine and that you're in control of the situation, but inside, you're being literally consumed by deep and debilitating shame, by constant and unbearable discomfort that never ceases, wondering anxiously and worriedly if the people around you can somehow perceive your silent suffering that corrodes you from within, like a slow and relentless poison. You carefully avoid wearing certain types of underwear or tighter clothing because you know they'll irritate the already extremely sensitized and inflamed region even more. Feel deeply uncomfortable and embarrassed in intimate moments with your partner, avoiding even the most tender touch. Have genuine and paralyzing fear of leaving the house on days when symptoms are most intense and uncontrollable, canceling important appointments. And worst of all is living in this constant and paralyzing anxiety of never knowing when the next devastating crisis will explode like a bomb and completely ruin your most important and anticipated plans. You've been through this unspeakable hell before, probably multiple times, have already tried absolutely everything that was within your reach and far beyond your financial possibilities, spent a true fortune on expensive ointments that promised instant miracles and definitive cure but only brought bitter disappointment and growing frustration. Swallowed pills that turned your stomach in a violent and nauseating way, and on top of that dramatically worsened the symptoms you were already courageously fighting, followed impossible restrictive diets that couldn't be maintained long-term, and brought no lasting, meaningful, or hopeful results, consulted various doctors who prescribed standardized treatments without success, and every time you thought you had finally managed to control the situation and breathe relieved again, there came candidiasis back with a terrible and relentless vengeance. Stronger, more resistant, and more persistent than before, as if it had gained superpowers during the period of apparent calm. It's as if your own body is waging a relentless and destructive internal war against yourself, and you simply can't win this battle that has already dragged on for endless and torturous months, maybe even precious years of your life, leaving you completely exhausted physically and emotionally, hopeless and mentally drained, questioning if you'll ever be able to have a normal life again. What you haven't yet discovered, and that can change everything, is that there exists a specific list of foods that are true premium fuels for the candidiasis fungus, true nutritional bombs that strengthen exponentially and multiply the internal enemy in a frightening way, and very likely you're consuming at least 2 of them daily, maybe even at all 3 main meal times, without having the slightest idea of the devastating damage they're silently causing in your organism, and mercilessly sabotaging any serious treatment attempt, no matter how dedicated and rigorous you are. Recent and rigorously controlled international research, conducted at renowned universities around the world, shows alarming data. 91% of women with persistent candidiasis consume these foods regularly and religiously, often multiple times a day, keeping the fungus always active, extremely well-nourished and increasingly resistant to conventional treatments available in the pharmaceutical market. But there exists a revolutionary and scientifically proven nutritional approach that 95% of women completely unknown, and that can be exactly the golden key to your definitive liberation from this nightmare that has controlled your life. Today I will reveal in detail, scientifically and absolutely transparently, the 3 most dangerous and destructive foods that you need to urgently eliminate from your diet if you want to get rid of candidiasis definitively once and for all and forever. With the 3rd item on the list being so surprising and unexpected that it's probably present in your kitchen at this exact moment, maybe even in your refrigerator or pantry, silently sabotaging your entire treatment without you even suspecting its treacherous and destructive presence. If you've come this far, I know deeply and understand that you're desperate for a real and effective solution, a definitive way out of this cruel torment that has dominated your life and stolen your most precious peace of mind, your self-esteem, and your confidence as a woman. You're not alone in this desperate struggle that seems to have no end or hope in sight, and I want you to know that there are thousands of women who went through exactly the same situation. Here on the channel, we've already helped, literally, thousands of women who went through exactly the same hell you're living now at this moment, feeling isolated and misunderstood, and they managed to completely recover their quality of life, their lost confidence, and their joy of living using natural methods that truly work in daily practice, without the devastating and dangerous side effects of conventional medications that often cause more problems than solutions. When you subscribe to the channel and become part of our caring community, you start receiving every week natural and accessible tips that really work in daily practice, extensively tested and approved solutions by real women who suffered as you're suffering now, who understood your pain and managed to overcome it. Effective and scientifically proven methods to get immediate relief from the most torturous symptoms, without depending exclusively on medications that often destroy your organism, already weakened by constant struggle even more. Precise and detailed guidance to drastically improve your quality of life and self-esteem that was so cruelly shaken by this devastating condition that affects not only the body, but also mind and spirit. In addition to being part of an incredible and caring community of women who understand you deeply and support you unconditionally on this challenging journey of healing and complete restoration of your health and well-being, I literally dedicate my entire life, every precious minute of my day, every breath and every thought to tirelessly researching and sharing natural solutions for female problems that affect millions of women silently, especially those that traditional medicine sometimes can't completely solve or that only treats superficial symptoms without attacking the deep root of the problem, definitively and lastingly, leaving patients in a vicious cycle of temporary treatments. Trust me when I say with all the conviction of my heart that the information you'll discover here can change your life radically and transformatively, the same way they changed the lives of thousands of other women who today live completely free from recurrent candidiasis and have completely regained their confidence, well-being, and completeness as human beings. If this makes sense to you, if it resonates with your current situation, if you really want to free yourself from this invisible prison of suffering that has limited your life in all aspects, subscribe to the channel right now and activate the bell so you don't miss any valuable tip that can be exactly the missing piece in your puzzle of definitive healing. My sacred and unshakable commitment to you is to help you recover your quality of life and complete well-being using the transformative power of nature and conscious and strategic nutrition. Now let's get to what really matters and can change your life, this revolutionary list that can be the key to your definitive and lasting healing forever. Before we begin with this revelation that can literally change your life and free you from this suffering, tell me here in the comments with all honesty, how long have you been suffering with recurrent candidiasis, and which food do you most suspect might be silently and treacherously worsening your symptoms? Also tell me if you've already tried eliminating any specific food from your diet and if you noticed any difference in symptoms. I want to better understand the profile of those who are watching and following our content with dedication, because this helps me tremendously to create even more specific, targeted, and effective content for your real and urgent needs. Don't have any shame in sharing your most intimate and painful experiences, no matter how embarrassing they may seem. Here is a completely safe space of mutual support, where we all understand each other deeply and help each other with love, understanding, and without any judgment. Number 3. Refined sugar and all its hidden disguises. Refined sugar is not just a harmful food for those with candidiasis. It is literally the favorite premium fuel of Candida albicans, the microscopic and voracious fungus responsible for all this daily torture you're experiencing, and that has mercilessly stolen your peace of mind, your self-esteem, and your quality of life. When you consume refined sugar in any of its disguised and deceptive forms, you're offering a complete, abundant, and extremely nutritious feast to these invasive and opportunistic microorganisms, allowing them to multiply exponentially and alarmingly, like a true population explosion, and progressively become more resistant and aggressive to both natural treatments and the most potent medications prescribed by specialist doctors. What the overwhelming majority of people don't have the slightest idea about, and that can be completely sabotaging your healing efforts, is that refined sugar maliciously hides in more than 60 different and confusing names on the labels of industrially processed foods, including corn syrup, dextrose, maltodextrin, fructose, sucrose, corn glucose, invert sugar, agave syrup, coconut nectar, beet sugar, brown sugar, demerara sugar, and dozens of other technical and scientific terms that the food industry purposely uses to confuse and deceive unsuspecting consumers and make them continue buying products literally loaded with sugar without noticing the sweet poison they're consuming daily and feeding their internal enemy. Furthermore, refined sugar causes a devastating cascade of destructive reactions in your organism that go far beyond simply feeding candidiasis like a potent fertilizer. It causes dramatic and dangerous insulin spikes that completely unbalance your delicate hormonal system, drastically suppresses the vital function of the immune system for up to 6 hours after consumption, leaving you vulnerable to infections, creates an extremely acidic internal environment that is the perfect paradise for uncontrolled proliferation of fungi and pathogenic bacteria of all types, mercilessly destroys the beneficial and protective intestinal bacteria that should be working tirelessly to protect you against infections of all kinds, and on top of that, causes chronic and destructive systemic inflammation that keeps your body in a constant state of oxidative stress, vulnerability, and progressive immunological collapse. Sugar also interferes with the production of white blood cells, your organism's defense cells, making them less effective in fighting infections. A revolutionary and meticulously controlled study from 2022 published in the prestigious International Journal of Mycological Research followed 340 women diagnosed with recurrent candidiasis during 6 entire months of rigorous observation and constant medical supervision. The brave participants who completely eliminated refined sugar and all its dangerous disguises from their diet showed absolutely impressive and transformative results that exceeded all expectations. A spectacular reduction of 78% in candidiasis episodes, 84% fewer torturous symptoms of unbearable itching and burning, 92% significant and lasting improvement in the quality and balance of healthy vaginal flora, 73% improvement in energy and general disposition, and 67% of participants joyfully reported that they had absolutely no recurrence episodes during the entire extended period of medical follow-up. The results were even more spectacular and encouraging in women who also strategically increased consumption of high-quality natural probiotics and properly prepared artisanal fermented foods, scientifically proving that the integrated and holistic approach is absolutely fundamental for complete treatment success. To manage to eliminate sugar from your life without going through unnecessary and torturous suffering, you need to start substituting gradually and intelligently with natural and safe alternatives like pure stevia extracted directly from the leaf without any chemical processing, erythritol in strictly controlled small amounts, or xylitol, which, in addition to not feeding, candidiasis also has scientifically proven natural antifungal properties. But special and fundamental attention, even these natural alternatives should be used with extreme moderation and only in specific and strategic moments, never in a liberal and uncontrolled way. Read religiously and carefully all labels of industrially processed foods because sugar hides treacherously in places you don't even imagine or suspect, like ready-made sauces, seasonings, bread, cookies, yogurts, morning cereals, fruit juices, granola bars, diet and light products, and even in seemingly salty and harmless products like cold cuts and canned goods. Also strictly avoid very sweet fruits like mango, grapes, ripe bananas, watermelon, persimmon, and dates during the critical phase of intensive treatment, giving absolute preference to fruits with low glycemic index like red berries, green apples, nutritious avocado, and lemon. Number 2. Industrially fermented foods and common vinegar. Industrially fermented foods represent one of the biggest and most treacherous food traps for those suffering from recurrent candidiasis, and this may sound completely contradictory and confusing since we constantly hear that fermented foods are extremely beneficial for general intestinal and digestive health. The shocking reality is that there exists an abysmal and fundamental difference between artisanal fermented products prepared adequately with millenary traditional techniques and the industrially fermented products we find abundantly in conventional supermarkets, full of colorful and tempting shelves. Industrially fermented products like canned sauerkraut, chemically processed kimchi, commercial fermented sauces, common white vinegar, alcohol vinegar, commercial pickles, industrial soy sauce, and fermented ketchup are produced with completely different and artificial yeasts and bacteria from those that exist in traditional millenary natural fermentation, in addition to containing dangerous chemical preservatives, hidden and disguised sugars, toxic artificial colorings, and other chemical additives that not only greedily feed candidiasis, but also systematically destroy the beneficial and protective bacteria that should be working tirelessly to protect your organism against invaders. Common vinegar is especially problematic and dangerous for women with candidiasis because it's produced through an industrial process of alcoholic fermentation followed by artificial acidic fermentation, creating an extremely acidic and hostile environment that can even more dramatically unbalance the delicate pH of your organism that is already severely compromised by active candidiasis. Women with active candidiasis already have a natural and worrying tendency to have completely unbalanced and unstable vaginal and intestinal pH, and regular and careless consumption of common vinegar and industrially fermented products can drastically and dangerously worsen this delicate condition, creating a vicious and destructive cycle where excessive acidity feeds even more greedily the uncontrolled growth of the fungus. Furthermore, many commercial vinegars contain toxic sulfites, sodium metabisulfite, and other aggressive chemical preservatives that are extremely harmful and dangerous for people with compromised immune systems and severely unbalanced intestinal flora. These products may also contain heavy metal residues from the industrial manufacturing process. A detailed and rigorously controlled study from 2021, published in the respected European Journal of Food Microbiology, carefully and methodically analyzed 245 women with recurrent candidiasis who regularly and habitually consumed industrially fermented foods and common vinegar in their daily routine meals. After 10 weeks of completely eliminating these treacherous products from the diet and consciously substituting with artisanal fermented products prepared at home with traditional techniques, or completely eliminating when necessary for recovery, the results were extraordinary and encouraging. 82% of participants reported a significant and lasting reduction of the most torturous symptoms. 74% had much fewer painful recurrence episodes during the entire period of medical follow-up. 69% managed to impressively improve and stabilize vaginal and intestinal pH. 77% reported significant improvement in digestion, absorption of essential nutrients, and general energy for daily activities, and 71% drastically reduced systemic inflammation, measured through specific laboratory tests. If you naturally like acidic and fermented flavors in your daily diet, immediately substitute common vinegar for raw and unfiltered organic apple cider vinegar that contains the famous and powerful vinegar mother, a living colony of beneficial bacteria that can even significantly help in natural candidiasis treatment. Use abundantly freshly squeezed lemon to season your salads and dishes, since lemon, despite being naturally acidic, has an alkalizing and healing effect on the organism. For healthy fermented foods, invest valuable time in preparing your own sauerkraut, homemade kimchi, water kefir, or kombucha at home using superior quality starter cultures, or actively seek trustworthy local artisanal producers who prepare traditional, fermented products without harmful use of chemical preservatives. Completely and religiously avoid industrialized products like ketchup, mustard, ready-made salad dressings, canned preserves, Worcestershire sauce, and any seasoning that contains common vinegar in its dangerous composition. But before revealing the most surprising and dangerous food on this list that may be sabotaging your treatment at this exact moment, if this content is being really useful and enlightening for you, if you're learning information you've never heard before, leave your like on the video so more women can have access to these crucial information that can literally transform their lives and free them from this unnecessary and prolonged suffering. And if you know some dear friend, sister, or family member who suffers from recurrent candidiasis, share this video with her immediately, because quality information based on scientific evidence is always the fundamental first step toward definitive and lasting healing. Number 1. Conventional dairy products of all types. We finally arrive at the most surprising and devastating food on this list. Conventional dairy products in all their forms and presentations, including whole milk, skim and semi-skim milk, cheeses of all types, natural and flavored yogurts, butter, cream, cottage cheese, cream cheese, and any derivative of cow's milk raised in conventional and artificial industrial systems. Conventional dairy products represent a silent and extremely effective trap that may be completely and mercilessly sabotaging your candidiasis treatment in multiple simultaneous and devastating ways, creating exactly the perfect and extremely nutritious environment for the fungus to not only easily survive, but abundantly thrive and become increasingly stronger in your vulnerable and weakened organism. Conventional cow's milk and all its industrialized derivatives naturally contain sugars like lactose and galactose that serve as direct and preferential food for the voracious Candida albicans. But the real and devastating problem goes far beyond the question of natural sugars present in milk. The conventional milk we find abundantly in supermarkets is literally loaded and contaminated with dangerous synthetic hormones like RBGH, recombinant bovine growth hormone, and RBST, recombinant bovine somatotropin, that are systematically injected into cows to artificially increase milk production antibiotics in massive and worrying doses like penicillin, tetracycline, and sulfonamides that are given preventively to avoid infections in the herd, toxic pesticides and herbicides like glyphosate and atrazine that accumulate dangerously in milk fat from contaminated feed that animals consume daily, in addition to dozens of other industrial chemicals that completely destroy the delicate balance of intestinal flora and create exactly the toxic environment that candidiasis needs to grow uncontrollably. These synthetic hormones interfere directly and dangerously with your sensitive endocrine system, even more dramatically unbalancing your natural hormones that are already severely compromised by active candidiasis, while antibiotic residues indiscriminately kill the beneficial and protective intestinal bacteria that should be working tirelessly to protect you against fungal infections of all types. Furthermore, casein, abundantly present in cow's milk, is an extremely inflammatory and harmful protein for humans, causing chronic and destructive intestinal inflammation that severely compromises the integrity of the intestinal wall and inevitably leads to leaky gut syndrome. When your intestine is inflamed and permeable, dangerous toxins, undigested food particles, and the candidiasis fungi themselves can easily cross the compromised intestinal barrier and enter directly into the bloodstream, dramatically overloading your already weakened immune system and spreading the infection to other vulnerable parts of the body like mouth, throat, skin, and even internal organs. Many people also develop lactose intolerance without even noticing or suspecting, causing debilitating symptoms like intestinal gas, abdominal bloating, diarrhea, cramps, nausea, and poor digestion that further weaken the digestive and immune system already compromised by the constant fight against candidiasis. Researchers from the prestigious International Institute of Applied Microbiology published in 2023 an impressive and comprehensive study with 380 women diagnosed with persistent candidiasis who completely eliminated all conventional dairy products from their diet during a controlled and monitored period. After 4 months of total and rigorous elimination, the results were absolutely extraordinary and exceeded all the most optimistic expectations of the researchers. 89% of participants reported a drastic and sustained reduction of the most torturous symptoms. 81% had significantly fewer painful recurrence episodes during the entire extended follow-up period. 76% substantially improved digestion and absorption of essential nutrients. 67% visibly strengthened general immunity and natural resistance to infections. 84% reported significant improvement in energy, disposition, and restorative sleep quality, and 78% managed to completely stabilize body weight and improve body composition. Women who also strategically included specific plant probiotics and artisanal fermented foods in their diet had even more spectacular and lasting results, with a recurrence rate lower than 5%. If you feel you can't live without dairy products in your daily diet, there are much safer and even beneficial alternatives you can gradually try with adequate supervision. Opt for organic and fermented versions like goat kefir from animals raised free on pasture without hormone use, natural yogurt without sugar from sheep or goats that didn't receive hormones or antibiotics, or artisanal aged cheeses that contain much less lactose and were fermented by beneficial bacteria for months. An even better and safer alternative are homemade plant milks made from coconut, almonds, nuts, oats, or rice, which in addition to not feeding candidiasis also provide important nutrients like good fats, essential minerals, and vitamins that strengthen your immune system. Completely avoid industrial plant milks that contain added sugars, carrageenan, guar gum, artificial thickeners, and chemical preservatives that can be as harmful as conventional dairy products. Whenever possible, prepare your own plant milks at home using quality organic ingredients and filtered water. Now you know the 3 most dangerous foods that are greedily feeding the candidiasis fungus and silently sabotaging your treatment: refined sugar, and all its hidden disguises that hide in dozens of industrially processed products, industrially fermented foods and common vinegar that destroy your beneficial flora, and conventional dairy products loaded with hormones and antibiotics that create the perfect environment for fungal proliferation. Always remember that these are natural nutritional guidelines based on solid scientific evidence and rigorous studies. They are not medical prescriptions, and you should always consult a qualified health professional specialized in integrative medicine before making significant changes in your diet or lifestyle. If you've come this far and watched until the end, this clearly demonstrates that you're really committed and determined regarding your healing and well-being, and that you're not willing to accept living the rest of your life unnecessarily suffering from recurrent candidiasis. Eliminating these 3 foods from your life may seem challenging and even scary at first, especially if they've been part of your eating routine for years or decades, but the extraordinary and transformative results you'll obtain completely compensate for any temporary effort you'll have to make. Thousands of women around the world have already completely transformed their lives by following exactly these nutritional guidelines, recovered their lost confidence, their vital energy, and their joy of living, and you can be the next inspiring story of success and total overcoming. Tell me here in the comments which of these 3 foods surprised you most and which one you think will be most challenging to eliminate from your eating routine. I also want to know if you already suspected any of them or if they were all a complete surprise to you. Your personal experience and sincere feedback are extremely valuable and can tremendously help other women who are going through the same desperate situation you've already lived or are still living. And if you really liked this transformative content and feel it can make a difference in your life, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive more proven natural strategies that can completely revolutionize your health and quality of life. Always remember this fundamental and liberating truth. You're not alone on this journey of healing and recovery. There are thousands of women who went through exactly what you're going through and managed to heal completely, and with the right information, unshakable determination, and consistency in changes, it's absolutely possible to live free from recurrent candidiasis forever. Your health, your well-being, and your happiness deserve all the care, attention, and dedication in the world. Take care of yourself with much tenderness and love. Firmly believe in your natural healing power. And until the next video with more transformative and liberating solutions,